All right, so today we're going to introduce our friend, Mr. Riley Andrews. How are you, Riley?
I'm doing wonderful, Ralph. How are you today?
Your up, your optimism just rubs off. You know, what I mean? It's contagious.
No other way to live it, man. No other
There
way to
you
live it.
go.
That's for darn sure.
There you go. All right, Riley, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Yes.
Man, well, I'll give you the quick 70,000 foot view of the whole thing. So, grew up
Mm-hmm.
playing golf at about the age of 6, but just was more or less a jock, right? Just played every single sport. Played basketball, football, baseball. My dad was a jock too, and coached the local high school football team, baseball team. So just athletic background. Then just found golf because of my aunt, really, and fell in love with it. Right, I'm an only child as well, so it was awesome to go out to the golf course and be able to compete, right, without having to throw a ball up in the air and then run over and catch it, right. So um, I just fell in love with the game and had a fairly okay junior career. Played collegiate golf starting at CU Boulder, and then transferred to UCCS, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Um, Turned professional as soon as I graduated and played for about 2.5 years with extremely limited success professionally. But really ended up moving down to Arizona from Colorado to stop battling snowflakes and continue to try to compete. And funny enough, Ralph, I just took a little position behind a pro shop, just checking people in. I was working there for maybe 2 months or so, and a father came in one day and kind of knew my story and wanted me to give his son, uh, son's name is Brian Byer, a golf lesson. And I went, well, golf lesson sounds fun, but let me have him for like 90 days. 'Cause this kid's like 8 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know golf, doesn't know how to play golf swing, whatever, right? So I don't want to do the like golf lesson 60-minute thing and then see you later, have a great day. I went, hey, let's do 90 days because then I can like really coach him the game. And really, Ralph, again, like massive problem in my life because from the time I was 12 years old, I had sworn that I was going to play on tour, all eggs, one basket kind of a thing, right? And really in a month I went, oh my gosh, I'm having there's a problem here because I'm really drawn to working with this kid and maybe even a little bit more interested in his game than mine. Um, and kind of had a battle with myself for about 6 to 8 months, but finally kind of relinquished that and became a full time coach. And in that time, probably had maybe 20 kids that had started to come and work with me and created kind of an academy setting where kids could come in and work together as peers and maybe a 5-to-1 student teacher ratio, but I could teach them to compete. It limits overcoaching. You have this camaraderie within your group as well as a mentor. It just was like a really cool, like this cool culture just kind of like grew through that. And so kind of rest is history. And I've been doing that for 14 years now.
Oh, awesome. Now, 90 days with the wrong 8-year-old could be a problem in and of itself. You know what I mean?
I
I
mean,
have a gra-
I get what you're saying
I
for
have a
for sure.
grandson, and
Yeah, yeah,
one of the good things is that the mother gets to take him home at the end. You know, so
yeah. I mean, I get that for sure. And but at the end of the day, Ralph, like there's really two things that other than my wife and my daughters that I love most in this world, and that's hanging with people and this craft, this hobby, this game, golf, right? So
absolutely,
anytime
absolutely.
I'm able to get two people that had or those two things colliding with any sort of like little interest in the game, man, I'm right at home. I'm right at home.
That's cool. Now let's talk about. I mean, anybody who watches you would say you have a preference of stroke pattern, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, One of my good friends, one of the people that I met in the beginning of this whole box. This is just like a rebirth type of thing. I was doing this blog like 15 years ago, maybe more, probably 17, 8, I don't know. One of the first people that collaborated with me. His name was Kelvin Miyahara, very good friend of mine, and that's the first person I've ever seen doing what you're doing. Right? He talked about lumbar lordosis, the spine engine, side bend, all these abstract concepts back then. You know, at a high speed camera. And he spent he gave me a he gave me a lot of his time, and he was very very nice. We're still good friends, and unfortunately something he got sick, I guess, and I called him several times. He hasn't called back, but watching you and watching that has just come to fruition. I think I don't know. How did you come
Yeah,
about
man.
it?
Okay, well, again, like just luck, really. I mean, nothing that I coach is like at its origin is necessarily an original thought. Of course, like as a coach, you're going to be creative in how you convey messaging and all that. But I've just been extremely lucky in the fact that I've stumbled into some absolutely extraordinary mentors that have helped me with a better understanding of um, how to move. One of my first mentors that I'm lucky enough to still call my best friend is Doug Wary, and he started coaching me from the time I was 14 years old, and um, now he's one of our coaches here at Elite Golf Schools out in North Carolina. So it's cool that I get to just continue those types of relationships. But Doug had a gentleman who was a doctor on his staff that would really educate us as juniors at that time on movement. And at that time, it's almost like it felt very similar to like a kinesiology class, right? Like this specific muscle, when it fires, it makes this movement happen, right? So you got like a really in-depth education. Little did I know as a kid, just trying to play better golf, but I got a great education on a lot of movement then, um, and took a lot of those preferences, if you will, into my coaching when I first really started coaching full time. And then this is like the coolest thing. So I get this call, voicemail. Listen to the voicemail. It's a father that had found our academy in Arizona and just wanted to talk to me about our academy and whatnot. Wanted his kid to come out for a trial lesson, and so I gave him a ring back, and he asked me the question, Ralph, that I almost like. I kind of despise this question, like at my core, from a parent asking, because he goes, "Hey, can you describe how you teach the golf swing?" Because I don't even know where to begin, because like every kid is different, every player is different, so it's never this is exactly how we're going to do it. But I gave him the like kind of the generic answer that I give every parent, which is something along the lines like, look, the body is there to support the swinging action of the arms. He's like, okay, and he just kept asking me like some kind of cool questions, and then started using some anatomical terms that I had definitely learned along my period of time coaching as well. And he's throwing like internal this and like there's radial here, and we got hip flexion. And I'm like, dude, you're kind of interesting cat. Like, why don't you come out as well? And while your kiddo comes out and has a session with us, you and I, we're going to go in the bay and we're going to talk. Lo and behold, this man, his name is Luke Brackey. Luke is a massive mentor of mine when it comes to movement. And one of the things that I love about Luke as well is he is a doctor by trade, but we both know how doctors can be, in that there's one right way and then everything else is wrong. And Luke is just not that way at all. Because I could ask him like, hey, I'm trying to move the club over here, and I'm trying to do it by this movement. And he would go, well, you can do that. That's totally fine. But there's other ways of moving it over there. And there might be some more efficient ways. And here's a way of thinking about it. So it just was this beautiful banter. So more or less, he just gave me a lesson.
Mhm.
And then he did it again. And then he did it again. And about the third time I went, okay, dude, like you're special stuff. And I found out that he has some sort of a relationship with like Boyd Summerhays and Gankus, and to what level that is, I don't want to speak for Luke, but he has had some amount of uh, conversing with them. And I'm like, this dude is freaking rock star status, right? And just, I mean, he's also like our mental coach in a way, because he's just a guy that you want to be around, right? He's got this like magnetism, which, you know, I kind of have that in a way too. I just like being around people. He's that same way. Our entire staff is that way. So he fits our culture really well as well. But, you know, getting to know Luke more and more and more, Luke is just a complete psychopath when it comes to learning. And he found Kelvin and researched the heck out of his stuff. And he's a doctor. So when Kelvin's speaking, I mean, he speaks right to Luke because he's speaking right on par, right? So like, just took Kelvin's stuff and really liked it. And he came from more of a standpoint of he had a few lessons and didn't really help him get any better. And it also made him feel like he was non-athletic in the movement pattern that he was trying to be educated on. So he kind of went down his own path. And, you know, lo and behold, like kind of we all did, we found Kelvin. We're like, oh, somebody's speaking in a manner that like makes sense when it comes to just human movement in a healthy way. And that's my attraction to Kelvin. That's my attraction to Luke. To be honest, that's really why I have a preference is the movement that it will preserve longevity is what we've seen,
Right.
what I've seen from the education that I've had so far. It might change in the future, but right now this is what we see as like a preference to help people practice a hell of a lot, but also like you're not going to be sacked up on the couch afterwards because you freaking wrecked your back or your shoulder or whatever, right? So that's kind of that story in a bit of a nutshell.
Wow. Interesting how far that because Kelvin and I, Kelvin was writing articles in this thing called Around Hawaii.
Okay.
And he didn't have a website. He didn't have anything. He went to see Craig McCann. He had developed this chain. It was called a speed chain, and him and Greg McCann were in California testing that out. And he had the impact. He came up with an impact snap, which I guess
Okay.
somebody else is
Sure.
marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that stuff was like so. See, I'm an engineer, so I like the mechanics, but the biology and the anatomy and that stuff, it just doesn't ring well. But at the end of the day, I was always wondering if anybody followed that stuff and took it to so the the kinetics, right? The kinesiology, the movement is is what Kelvin was studying because I know all he had was a high speed camera. I'm wondering if anybody ever measured the forces behind all that stuff, or like it was so long ago that I don't know. I really don't know, but it seems to be that it's not just in your case, you guys. Gankus has some of it. There's another guy who puts out a lot of good players. Chase.
Duncan.
Yeah, yeah, they all swing exactly. Yeah, those guys are all like Division 1
Uh,
studs, and like, well,
yep.
What's good? They all like said, wait a second, this thing is it seems
Yep.
to be,
Yeah. And when it comes to this is where I come from with it. Cause again, like I came from, um, more, I mean, I'm not going to say that I was like super high level athlete in anything, right? I didn't play professional sports in any arena, right? Played low level professional golf. But at the end of the day, I'm still have an athletic background, and there's a lot of that is just qualitative. You're feeling it's sensory, it's ideas and mapping in your head, right? Whether it's shooting a basketball, throwing a baseball, hockey, hitting a golf shot. Um, there has to be a qualitative reasoning in your mind first and foremost for the quantitative information to make any sense. And the quantitative is still it's limited in a lot of ways, right? Like for example, to get an angle of attack that's steeper, I can do that in several ways. So if I'm just going by the number that's presented to me off of TrackMan, I can get it steep, but in what way? How did you do that? So if you just look at a TrackMan and you just look at numbers, you're not going to get the full picture. It'll help you for sure, and it can give you
yeah.
guidelines. But even, um, body tracking equipment, whether it's like Catalyst or gears, really what we're reading is we're measuring tissue as it glides over bone. And tissue does this, right? It's like we're,
Right.
we're made of jello, right? We're
It's
not
like a
levers and
blob. Yeah.
pulleys. Yeah, dude, we're freaking jello. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
organ, friggin' muscle, fascia, tendon, ligament, all that's just keeping our bones together. But the only way that our bones move is because that tissue drags them along in space. So we're not really reading bone. We're not reading the shoulder. Plus, like, how do you read what part of the shoulder are you reading? It's four bones, right? Like you can't register the head of the femur. So it's just difficult to measure exactly what we're seeing if we're just looking at the number that's spit out from a quantitative standpoint. And that's why I love these guys that are dynamic homies, right? Like Miyahira, Quan, Luke, right? Like these guys, they see bounce, they see movement really, really well. And that's always been intriguing to me because at the end of the day, if we want to create high level athletes here, they're not, it's not from a quantitative standpoint. They're going to have to register and measure, you know, these items that are really important to read the shot. Is it into the grain, down grain? What's elevation? What's wind like? What humidity are you playing in? What's the turf like? All that stuff. We need enough intuition from a playing standpoint so that you can like process that at a really high level while having a very clear, pretty simple map of your golf swing so that you can go execute golf shots. That's where our low scores come from, right?
Right.
So it's always come from like that space when I'm looking at helping people play better golf.
Well, I mean, if you have Dr. Brackey, you have Kelvin had some other doctor. I can't remember his name. It's been so long, and they validated the fact that it would preserve the body. Longevity was part of it, but at the same time, um, the results were there. Like guys were getting more distance, they were compressing the ball better. They were, getting the results that matter, right? Not the numbers in the laboratory, but what happens out in the, you know what I mean? What happens out in the field in the, that's
100%. And I think that's really kind of the cool thing about our game is, I mean, when you look at a guy like Scotty Scheffler and you look at a guy like Hovland, man, they're getting it done in very different ways. We get distracted sometimes by the golf club. We're infatuated with swing plane and all that. But if you took away the golf club and hacked off those homies' arms and you just looked at their rib cage and their pelvis and their feet and their head, like you would see very, very different ways of moving, and how they square the golf club at the strike is done in very different ways. Now, from a performance standpoint, is there one that's better than another? I mean, dude, that's a bar conversation, right? Like, no, Scotty's better than Hovland. Look at these stats, but at the end of the day, they are extremely good uh, players of our game, right? You can look at world rank and whatever, but good grief, when it comes to controlling the golf ball, they both do it at extraordinarily high levels. And so to say that one is right and one is wrong is, in my opinion, fairly naive. And I mean, good grief, you see these like wars on like social media that this is right and this is wrong. And it's not that. Do coaches have preferences? Of course, coaches are going to have preferences for any number of reasons, right? But to say one is a right way or a wrong way is again, my opinion, it's just not true, because you can look at pretty much any player on tour and we're going to point at them as a very good player. And so how they're getting it done is going to be a little different from the next guy. So there are just a whole bunch of snowflakes out there, right? Like they're
right.
all very original players and how they get it done. It's really cool. So studying that and being a golf geek like I am, it's really fun to study that, how they're getting it done. It's really cool.
But you mentioned Hovland, and back when Kelvin was doing the stuff for the blog, imagine, I guess Hovland was reading it, and he was at OSU, and he sent his swing to Kelvin, and you can see that. You can
Yeah,
see that.
exactly. Yeah.
You
Rib
can see it.
cage move. Jeez.
He's still
Oh,
the rib
yeah.
cage salamander. You know, Greg called it a salamander.
Yeah, dude,
Salamander.
friggin' straight vertebrate
Yeah,
mode, man. It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah,
And I mean, Hovland is of all the guys, again, hacking off arms and whatever. He's maybe my favorite. Like, I love his foot action. I love his leg action. His pelvis is so freaking good. His rib cage is great. It's just it's great, and it's fun because it's kind of unique, compared to the rest of the guys. It's different, so it's quirky as well, which is cool. Like, I always like seeing a little bit of quirk. If it looks too good, it almost looks a little wrong. You know what I
but
mean?
yeah,
Um,
he's a pure golf geek. He's a nerd. He's a golf nerd, and
nerd,
he's never satisfied, and he's always
just a psycho,
uh,
like all we are, all of us
like
are.
we all are. That's what
Like
the game does to
yeah,
you.
it sure does, doesn't it?
You
Yes.
can't, you can't. So, where are we located? You're in Colorado.
Yeah, so I live in Colorado. I lived in Arizona for about 10 years,
Hmm.
and had a ball down there. But I am from Colorado originally, and so is my wife. We both grew up in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Both of our families still live in Highlands Ranch, and now we're fortunate enough to have two little 4-year-olds that complete our
Twins.
family. So yes, yep, little identical girls. So
Awesome.
that's my whole life.
Yeah.
And so now, yeah, we've moved back here because we want our kids to know grandma and grandpa. So it's great, but we still have a location in Arizona with three fantastic, wonderful coaches down there. Really wonderful, vibrant, robust junior academy, but obviously we're coaching adults as well. So we got golf schools and what we call intensives where folks will fly in and work with us. Obviously, the geographic area of folks down there too that we're working with, our online program, all of that, right? But yeah, we've got locations in Arizona, Colorado, and Village of Pinehurst in North Carolina.
Awesome. And you're catering primarily to juniors or anybody who walks in, or what's? I mean,
Anybody who walks in, man. I
I
mean,
got
it's
you.
it's it's fun now because I mean, again, you start with one student and one coach, right? So I had Brian, and it just grew to the point where needed help because I never wanted to turn away a kid just because I didn't have space to coach him. So just trying to identify folks that embody the same general ideas from a culture standpoint, right? Like why we're doing what we're doing, every single day, like how important students are, and becoming great mentors in their lives. And really, golf schools really started from a very junior centric perspective. We would always coach adults as well, but it was very much a junior academy. And we did that for, golly, 8 years, probably 7 years at least. And then we started just kind of like throwing out a couple of our ideas on social media, and that grew fairly rapidly, which was like amazing. It's still like crazy to me because I would say about 95% of my own coaching is virtual. So it's Zoom doing this, right?
Hmm.
And coaching that way. I mean, there's a couple pros that I still I have never met in person, but I've coached them for years now. And so it's weird that that's a thing because like when you and I grew up, there's no such thing as virtual coaching, right? You're always going in person.
Right.
But it's amazing at the same time just because your reach can be that much larger and you can help people at such a greater level because of technology. It's pretty special for sure.
It's very special. The internet's a very special utility. I had that conversation with Brian Manzeller 20 years ago. I said it
Uh-huh.
changed the whole paradigm. The
Whole
game
thing.
just changed. And
Yeah.
I for one, I'm probably I'm probably watching about 4 hours of your content at least a week. I enjoy it.
Well, thanks, man. That means
It's
the world. I appreciate
it's
that, man.
good. I mean, and look, if you have a good presentation, I don't watch TV anymore. I watch YouTube. There's nothing to watch.
Isn't that
What's there to
crazy?
watch? Yeah,
Oh man. Again, like how crazy is that? Like who would have thought that would have been the case? Good grief. It's incredible. But yeah, man, I mean that's that I think that's the coolest thing. And having folks that I also can't believe how many. I mean, I'm assuming you would generally agree with this too. I can't believe how many freaking golf dorks there are out there. People that are
So,
infatuated with their game. I mean,
count me in.
that
Count me
so
in.
yeah, me too,
You
right? But
know?
I thought I was kind of on an island on my own. Like I'm the only guy that like really like thinks this way and like keeps me up at night and whatever. And I'm like, dude, there is like an ocean of these folks out there that are
Yeah. Oh yeah.
infatuated with it. It's so cool because it preserves our game.
It does.
It's amazing. So, an entity like YouTube comes along and we can all just blast our crazy thoughts and ideas. Even though it's complete, I mean, it's just a wave of information. As long as you can kind of filter out, like, and again, not what's right and wrong, but just, what's going to help
It's
you
gonna
as a
help you. Yeah.
golfer. Yeah, then it's great, right? Because again, there's no right and wrong information out there, right? Like an idea that somebody presents can absolutely help anybody as long as it's the right diagnosis for that person. Like chemotherapy, so far, as far as we know, is pretty good for cancer treatment, but it's not very good for a cold. So it's like just whatever it is that is, you just have to be able to filter it well. And if you can do that, then man, all the power to you. You can just take all that information and help you play better golf and enjoy it more.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's guys that there's people like yourself that have a way of explaining it uh, where it's palatable, right? Sometimes you can get to. I'm just saying. I'm talking like you said. I'm one of these aficionados, and I've always have been. So I've been through Ledbetter, Ballard, McLean. I
Yeah,
mean, anybody who was top 100 was the answer, right?
awesome. It's
You know what
awesome.
I mean? But
Yeah,
the thing is that the guy down the block could have taken care of the problem. You know what I mean? It's not like that. The point of sales. Yeah, I've run into abstract people on YouTube who nobody knows, who's on some driving range in the middle of nowhere, and they just said something that clicked, and it changed everything, right?
coolest thing. It's
You know
so
what I mean?
cool.
It's a yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. And obviously, I mean, working with a guy like Ledbetter, I mean, that's cool because at the same time, I mean, he's earned what he has. I mean, he's worked with the best players in the world. So it's cool hanging around somebody that's been around that level of greatness. Like that's really cool. And again, like I get it. Like not everybody, is gonna fit everybody. Different personalities mesh really well with other personalities. That's part of coaching, right? So, but at the end of the day, like if that guy, that's like out in the middle of nowhere posts something and it helps one person
One
go
person,
play
yeah,
better golf, then it's worth doing. Period.
absolutely,
Period.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, right, Riley,
Yeah.
do you have anything you want to add, man? I've really been enjoying talking to you, and it piqued my interest that because I hadn't followed up on any of Kelvin's stuff and all that. Now, I'm not saying it's your stuff just brought that to mind. I said, wait,
Yeah.
this thing's taking off, like
Yeah,
you
probably
know.
some definite similarities there for sure. And I mean,
Hmm.
I just thank Kelvin for being Kelvin. I mean, thank goodness for that man. I mean, he's helped the industry in a lot of ways and has worked his ass off to really understand the golf swing at the level that he does. So, I mean, really, I and Ralph, thank you for reaching out.
But
Being able to sit down and get to know you.
you do a very good job of explaining it and simplifying it. Because it can get intimidating if you get too.
Yeah, you can
I'm
go down
sorry.
some deep wells
Yeah,
there for
yeah,
sure, right? Like,
yeah.
but as long as you're able to still kind of get up into seeing the golf swing from a global perspective, I mean, you can research the heck out of it as long as you can see the whole thing for what it is.
Right, right, right.
Um, yeah, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate the kind words there. But really, Ralph, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I just, I like meeting other guys that are dorks like me that just friggin' love the game, and I was thrilled when you reached out so we could have a conversation and get to know each other a little bit better, my man.
Yeah, and that's the whole like. I'm in the middle. I'm in the Caribbean on an island, and I like to talk golf, and not. I can't. There's nobody around.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's
I've met
awesome.
a
Do you
lot of
live down
great
there full
people, man.
time then?
No, I go back to New York. Probably in about a month or two. I'm winterizing. It's
Yeah, because you're from New
just
York originally. Am I
yeah,
right in
yeah. I'm
saying
from
that?
New York. Yeah,
Okay.
that's where
Yeah.
the
Cool.
Gotham thing comes from. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's awesome,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
All right,
great.
Riley.
Wait,
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. You can say something.
I was just gonna say you got it set, man. You can go down there for the winter months and enjoy, and then
But
man,
I live in a
once it
country
starts to get
club.
nice.
I live in a country club, and at some point, like sometimes too much golf is too much golf. You know what I mean?
Yeah, need a
You
little
get out of
break
it.
at least. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. And out here, you
Awesome.
can't. It's not like you're in Arizona. I spent some time in Arizona at actually Karsten Manufacturing, and that's like dry heat. They call it. It's still heat.
It's still
120
heat,
degrees. I don't care. You're either broiling or baking. One of the two.
man. Oh man, yeah, it'll wake you up in the morning. That's for darn sure. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah. So
Awesome.
you're just chalking up to
Yep.
another good guy I met, man. I'm really happy you
Awesome,
spent
buddy.
some time with me, bro.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Looking forward to growing a
Yeah.
relationship with you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well,
Cool.
thanks for your time, and we'll be back in touch. Maybe we'll do something else. Okay.
That sounds great, man. Looking forward to it.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Bye
day.
bye.
Okay.